Welcome to Mile 13. My name is Kim.
Woo!
I'm Jackie.
I'm Casper.
So, welcome to our podcast. This is your new home for all things historical, paranormal, fun, etc.
And spooky.
And spooky. I mean, I feel like paranormal covers that.
Yeah.
But so the goal of our podcast is to sort of take you on a road trip of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
And introduce you to some of our beautiful cities in the great United States of America. So each week we'll be focusing on a different city. Some weeks we'll be focusing on a city for multiple weeks, as in the case with our first few episodes. But before we delve into the beautiful city of Savannah, which we'll come back to. I have some things to say about Georgia.
We have a few things to say.
We thought you might like to know a little bit about us. So, I drew the short straw. My name is Kim. I am the
Hi, Kim.
the elder statesman of the group at the ripe old age of 37. Not yet. By the time you hear this, I'll be 37. I'm 2 days away from 37. So
If you make it.
if
Happy
I make
early
it,
birthday.
thanks. So,
Don't die.
let me clarify that if I make it thing. Ever since I was a child, I have had this annoying little certainty in the back of my brain that I was going to die in a car crash when I was 36. So as of this moment, it's what, May 16th?
Yep.
Yeah. My birthday is on May 19th. I'll be turning 37 on that day. And
No pressure.
on that day, Jackie and I and our respective husbands will be driving 6 hours to Nashville in a car. And I technically will not be turning 37 until like 10:30 at night. So, theoretically.
So we're driving separately.
Yeah. I've never really felt strongly whether somebody, if there was a passenger in the car with me, if they were going to die. I don't think so. I think it's just me. But anyway, so that's me.
Well,
I have grandkids, 6 of them. We'll get into that another time. There's 5 girls and 1 little boy, and I have 2 dogs named Jack, who runs all the time, and Rupert, who is the greatest dog in the history of the world, and 2 cats, Polly and Bee, who are trained killers and live outside. You'll hear me talk about Rupert a lot.
He's the best boy.
On the show. He's so good.
You'll probably hear him too. Every once in a while you'll just hear.
And that's Rupert laying down.
That's Rupert.
Yep.
Right.
It's a long way to the ground.
For him, apparently.
For him, yeah. You gotta just humph when you get
his
down.
belly kind of hangs.
I think it's just his tired old bones.
Jackie, who are you?
Okay, well, I'm Jackie. I think the best way to describe me is, have you ever seen any Starbucks commercial ever from maybe like 5-10 years ago? That's pretty much
Starbucks used to have commercials?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a Starbucks commercial.
Okay, no, like an ad with the girl that's just like the white blonde girl's going like, ew, coffee.
Oh, okay.
Pumpkin
I got
spice.
what you meant.
Think of pumpkin spice, and that's pretty true to who I am.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I have 2 cats, Thor and Theodore. Why you give me that look?
Because you don't have the white entitlement that comes along with
You're not a
Starbucks?
basic bitch.
Starbucks. Yeah, you're not no,
Aw.
you are. So Jackie is trying to get a job, and I had a reference check with somebody earlier today, and I actually can honestly say I've never heard Jackie say anything mean about anybody ever, not even once.
True. Very true.
It's because it's always about you.
Oh, damn.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
I take that back. Jackie called me an ass cactus earlier. I heard her say something mean for the first time, and it was about me. All right,
That
then.
is true. Okay, I will own up
I mean,
to
to
that.
be fair, ass cactus is a pretty good insult.
I used it first, and she threw it back at me. I said, I'm not an ass cactus, and she said, yeah, you are.
Yep. I just
So
sit
you
in
are
the shadows.
Basic white girl. Ass cactus.
Damn, we're feisty today.
All right.
We're feeling good. Everything's
We're feeling
working.
Good. We're feeling feisty.
It only took us 45 minutes today.
Hey, that's our new record.
No, it really is.
The 2 hours that it normally takes
Yeah.
that ends with us. Just forget it.
Screw
Just
this. I'm done.
just so the listeners know, we are not very professional or good at this yet. So there's going to be some bumps in the road. Bear with us for the short time being until we actually get our bearings. I promise we'll get better.
We'll get there.
I can't guarantee.
I have faith in us. I have faith in you. You, Jackie.
Oh, everyone's being so nice to me.
Well, except for when we called you an ass
You
cactus.
fluffy blonde ass cactus. All right. Casper, what do you got?
So my name's Casper. I use they, them pronouns. I live in Chicago. I am the baby of the group. I'm 23. Let's see. I'm a graphic designer and I work at a haunted house. And I have one cat. Her name's Artemis and she is a bitch and I love her so much. As usual cats are. What else about me? Yeah, I'll be covering most of the like ghosts and spiritual and paranormal stuff, and that's because I've had paranormal experiences. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for.
You might have had some
events.
experiments performed on you by ghosts in the past. I don't know.
Yeah. I've had lots of spiritual events throughout my life. At some point, I'll cover them all. But basically, my first experience was when I was 6, and it was a episode of sleep paralysis. And so ever since then, I've just been like really obsessed with ghosts and all the spiritual world. So I'll be mostly covering them.
Sleep paralysis is terrifying.
Have you ever experienced it?
I have not, but I have a friend who seriously thought that she was possessed, and her doctor diagnosed her with sleep paralysis. She said that is what it feels like. You are possessed. It feels like something has taken over your body. Casper, have you ever seen the movie The Nightmare?
No.
On Netflix?
No.
I think it's called The Nightmare. There is a documentary about sleep paralysis. It's on Netflix. I believe it's called The Nightmare. It is fascinating and horrifying. The people who experience sleep paralysis without ever ever meeting each other, they describe the exact same things, like people that live
and
in
like shadow figures.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
And they
there's like
never-
specific characters that show up.
It's
that is
insane.
terrifying.
I was too young to like actually recognize it was sleep paralysis at the time, and I only vaguely remember it, so I can't actually say if it was one of those characters that I saw, but something definitely did happen. It was my only episode with sleep paralysis. It's never happened again.
That's a blessing.
Yeah, no.
So the closest thing I've ever had to waking up being scared by something and thinking it was a way bigger deal than it was actually yesterday. I was laying in bed and I woke up and I saw these two eyes just like real close, and it was Theodore, my cat. And so, but like I just saw the like reflective eyes, and we're staring at each other, and then I jump, and because I jump, I scare him, and I don't really know what's going on yet. And then this like fat chunky form just like runs out of the room.
Oh man, that's
Totally the
precious.
same thing.
Totally
exactly
the
the
same.
same.
Yep. It was scary.
I've never been scared with anything regarding sleep. That is my safe place. I love sleep and all things sleep associated.
Well, demons also haunt my dreams, so sleep's not that safe for me. So
See, and I don't dream very often. I drool a lot when I sleep. I don't know if that's scary, but
It's only scary to Steve.
sometimes Rupert wakes me up in the middle of the night to go pee. Other than that, that's about it. I got nothing there. All right, so moving on.
yeah, so basically, I think, at least for me, I can't speak for you two, but for me, I know that, like, one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast was because, again, I've loved ghosts and horror forever. But the most frustrating thing is when you hear this, like, really, really good ghost story and there's nothing to do about it. The building's been torn down and there's, like, absolutely no way that you could interact with this. And so I know that, like, one of the reasons I'm doing this, and I think we are doing this, is to cover places that you can actually see and go to and do things.
Yeah.
to be more of a road trip and have it be much more interactive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I always go to cities and I'm like, okay, what are the top 3 spooky things? And it's just like the Google search engine, the first things that come up. And I think it'd be a fun concept to just have in one like grouping. Oh, like, have we said what we're doing today?
I mentioned
vaguely.
it briefly.
Okay, so we're talking about Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah!
Woo! So if we did go, what are some places you can visit and you can go into the city knowing at least a little bit of the history, the background, going into it on your little adventure?
Which is my part of everything. I love history. I don't know. I'm not a historian by any stretch of the imagination, and I will probably say this a lot. But if I am wrong, please, please, please call me out on it. Send us an email, mile13show@gmail.com. That's mile13, MILE13 show at
If
gmail.com.
I'm wrong about any information, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I just want to be blind and just assume I'm right about everything.
If I am wrong, though, be nice, because I have a delicate soul.
Yeah, I can't take any criticism. So
we're just riddled with anxiety.
Yes.
I mean, I am too, but I'm a little tougher. I'm on medication.
That email actually doesn't exist. It's just a...
It does. It apparently.
If you want to correct us, send it here.
Yeah,
if you have any complaints, this is our email.
No,
All
I
right.
promise we're reading them.
So we're starting with Savannah, and I would like to put out a disclaimer and probably lose the listeners that we don't have already. I don't like Georgia.
I love Georgia so much. It hurts.
I'm indifferent.
There are reasons that I don't like Georgia, and I realize # not all Georgians, but I have known 2 people from Georgia who have been pretty significant people in my life at different points in time. I hated both of them. They were both ended up being terrible people. We have family that lives in Florida, and to me, Georgia is just the state that you get through to get to Florida, and it takes forever. And Atlanta's always a cluster. So I'm not a big Georgia fan.
Oh, I love Savannah, Tybee Island, and those are the only 2 places that I've gone to, but I really like peaches. So
I know very little about Savannah, and I am not one to make a...
You're going to learn.
It is the prettiest city I've ever been to.
I'm not one to make judgments based off of lack of knowledge, so...
That's good.
Well, I will save my judgment for the end of our 3-week span episodes of Savannah. So
I also kind of feel like just Southerners in general, you will come to learn that there goes my notes. You will come to learn that I don't sugarcoat things very often. I am kind of blunt.
She's very mean.
I am, and I don't mean to be. Like, that's
it's
just
okay. We love you for it.
That's just how I am. I actually have been known to. We did this just the other night. I apologized to the waitress because I thought that I was being rude. And Jackie and Steve, were you the one that was with me? I think you were.
I don't remember.
Somebody was with me and Steve, who's my husband, and they actually had to be like, no. it was my friend Lizzie. Sorry, I got my friends confused. I thought that I was being
many of them.
like 5, yeah. I thought that I was being rude to the waitress, and she's like, "No, I don't think you were being rude." But some people that don't know me might have taken it as rude. I feel like Southerners, especially Southern women, are always nice, but you don't know if they're being really nice or if they're being fake nice. And I don't like fake nice people. I want to know where I stand with you.
It's like when people say, like, "Oh, bless your heart," it means like you're a fucking idiot, basically. Like,
yeah, I don't like that. I want to know where I stand with you because it doesn't do either of us any good. If you don't like me, I don't want to be around you. Like, I don't want to make you unhappy with my presence. So just tell me that you don't like me. You don't want me hanging around, and I'll go away. It's fine.
So what happens if we get... Like, we do really well at this podcast, and 5 years down the road, we do shows, and then we have to do a show in Georgia, and you get booed off the stage and pelted with peaches.
Then
Are
you
they-
get pelted by peaches.
My question to you then is, are they fresh peaches or rotten peaches?
Probably rotten.
Probably rotten. Because I would sit there, if they were fresh, with my mouth open, just like...
Yeah. I mean, if I get
But-
pelted with peaches, then... but peaches are going to hurt. Rotten peaches wouldn't as much.
The
pits.
pit.
The pit
Yeah.
would hurt.
That's like a natural knife. The little, like, sharp point.
I can move fast if I have to. We'll just put it that way.
Peach ninja.
Rupert is your bodyguard.
Although, I would encourage the fine people of Georgia to, instead of throwing rotten peaches at me, try to change my mind about
Aw,
your great
look.
state.
Oh.
Bettering the world. One peach at a time.
Oh my gosh.
I was very Savannah. I will say I've never been to Savannah, so I'm interested to hear, Jackie, what you think of the city after we get done with everything. All of there's kind of some nasty history going on in Savannah. I will say that when I first started researching, I was like, you know what, Savannah might be the one that. Oh no.
Maybe? No.
Yeah.
Nah.
Savannah does have a lot of really cool points in their history. My research comes from a book called The Hidden History of Savannah, written by two folks from Savannah, husband and wife team by the name of Brenna and T.C. Michaels. It's a really well-written book, especially if you are not much of a reader, or if you are looking to go to Savannah for just like a road trip kind of a thing. The way that Hidden History is laid out is very kind of user-friendly. Like, it's little nuggets of stories and information. So
Weird.
it's very,
Almost like our podcast.
strangely enough, yeah. So I'm happy to plug this book. Hidden History of Savannah, Brenna and T.C. Michaels. Savannah is credited as being America's first planned city.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was not aware of that. It was founded in 1733 by a guy named James Oglethorpe. And
That's a name.
I believe that Oglethorpe is one of the main streets in Savannah now.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oglethorpe.
Yeah. So James Oglethorpe on the surface sounds like a stand-up guy. He was from England. He left England intending to help people who had been sentenced to debtor's prison. Now, I don't know if all of our listeners know what a debtor's prison is, but it's basically a really awful way of just ending up in prison for the rest of your life. You get
Sweet.
thrown in, yeah, you get thrown into debtor's prison if you obviously can't pay your debts. But where they get you is that you, first of all, don't have the money to pay your debts, but so you go to prison and then they charge you rent in prison.
Oh, good.
You have to pay for your own food.
Is there any way to make money in the prison?
Nope. You just have to
What?
kind of
So
depend on
your debt just accumulates forever.
exactly.
And I thought
And
my debt
once
was bad.
Once you pay off your debt, you can get out of prison. But unless somebody is willing to help you out and help you pay off your debt, you're just not going to ever pay off your debt.
And the longer you're in there, the
That's-
more your debt
Yep.
That
grows.
is awful.
Yeah.
So the less likely someone is to pay your debt.
Exactly. You got to hope for a rich uncle from Nigeria to die or something.
I'm still waiting on that.
I know. That
Still waiting on that rich uncle from Nigeria.
Prince messages
Come on,
me all
man.
the time, but
My husband's heritage is he's half Nigerian,
Oh!
so that could be
Oh.
a thing.
Rich uncle.
so
Cross my fingers.
so one of James Oglethorpe's friends was thrown into debtor's prison, and the idea was, how about if we set up a colony in America, in the New World? It wasn't
Cool.
America then; it was the New World. We set up a colony in the New World instead of sending all of these people to debtor's prison. We send them over to the colony, and they can then basically start over. You know, they have to leave the life that they knew behind, which is kind of a punishment, but they have a chance to start their lives over again. And that's where Savannah came from. So, best of intentions.
Yeah.
When
We started off well.
well, yeah, so far this is a good story. James Oglethorpe was, by all accounts, he was a good guy. He made friends with a local Native American chief named Tomochichi. He had left his tribe after some local Native American wars and started his own tribe. So
Wow,
industrial.
cool.
I know, yeah. So all these guys were kind of like born friends. Like, oh, I don't like the way things are running in England, so I'm gonna come over here. And then Tomochichi was going, no, I don't like the way y'all are doing stuff, so I'm gonna start my own tribe. He was a really good diplomat. So things in Savannah started off really well. Oglethorpe, though, was pretty conservative.
Sure.
He had 4 main rules,
Okay.
and they're interesting.
Okay.
Rule number 1, no lawyers.
I like it.
Okay.
You won't like the other one.
Oh.
Oh, you'll like this one. You'll like one of them. Rule number 2, you won't like this one. No hard liquor.
Boo.
Rule number 3, no Roman Catholics.
Okay.
Wait.
Wait.
Yeah,
Protestants
that.
only.
I mean, I can boo
Wasn't
not having freedom of religion.
wasn't the whole point to like get away from religious oppression?
Well, this is in 1733.
Eh.
So
Their version of
I
oppression
mean,
is we don't
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So
You won't get
Eh.
stoned.
so no lawyers, no hard liquor, no Roman Catholics, and no slaves.
Okay.
Woo.
But
That's good.
asterisk,
Oh no.
indentured servants were fine.
There's a footnote.
Oh.
So basically,
So slaves, but we won't call them slaves.
well, I mean, indentured servants
You got paid.
you were paid, but you were not paid enough to really, I don't think, live on your own. Like you were.
Yeah, because didn't you worked for food and a living and then like a little bit
yeah,
of extra money?
like pocket money.
Yeah, they like
basically.
paid for your like room and board, right?
Yeah, basically. And I would venture to say that indentured servants were treated better than what we imagine slaves to be treated. Like field hand slaves as opposed to like house slaves, which I have always been taught, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, house slaves generally were treated better than field slaves. And I'm probably getting my history wrong here, but as far
It's
as
cool. It's just with slavery.
I know, right? No pressure.
It'll go
No
over
pressure.
well if you get it
no,
wrong.
no pressure, right?
No one will jump at that at all.
I know, right? If I am wrong, please, please, please correct me on this. But I was always kind of led to believe that the like house slaves were generally more like mulatto slaves, light skinned, that had some white parentage somewhere in there, whereas field slaves were Africans, like that had come over from Africa or from the islands or were of pure African descent. So I think that house slaves were probably treated a little bit better because they had a physical difference. Do you know what I mean? Like they had a little bit of whiteness in them, so they
Because
looked different.
Racism.
Exactly. I didn't mean to get into like scary territory already, but
I don't think we can avoid it.
I know. I mean, it's only going to get worse next episode. Like we're barely touching the slavery thing right now.
We're 10 minutes into Savannah's history.
There's
Yeah,
no slaves in
it's-
my story, so
It's only going to get worse on the historical front. So, and you know, in spite of the fact that you were not allowed to have Roman Catholics, Savannah was actually fairly diverse at first. There were people from Scotland that came over, and that was an interesting bit of information that I read. There were Scottish Highlanders and Scottish Lowlanders. And based on where you were from in Scotland, like the Highlanders were they were the quote unquote good Scots, and the Lowlanders were the quote unquote bad Scots, like the drinking and whoring Scots.
good.
So like
Gotta
our
love those
crowd.
drinking and whoring
I
Scots.
know. So and the
My
Highlanders,
brethren.
yeah, the highbrow and the lowbrow. Jews were allowed.
Wow.
In not long after Savannah's existing doctor had died.
Single doctor?
Yeah, I believe so. There was like one doctor. And I mean, remember, this is at the founding beginning of Savannah, so there wasn't a lot.
Sure.
So there was a group of Jews from Portugal that arrived. And a gentleman by the name of Samuel I believe it's Nunez. I may be mispronouncing the last name, but
Sounds right to me.
arrived from Portugal not long after their doctor in Savannah had died, which was super handy because he was a really good doctor.
Yeah.
So he just happened to show up at right place, right time. And he actually ended up founding their first synagogue, which you can still visit today.
Wow.
I am not Hebrew, and Mickve, mikveh. I'm gonna think Israel Synagogue.
Sure.
Mickve Israel Synagogue. Still standing. Beautiful, beautiful building.
Oh, I'm sure.
You can visit it today. So we had Scots, we had Jews, we had Portuguese.
We didn't have slaves.
We didn't have slaves, just indentured servants.
Just indentured servants.
Speaking of which,
And a shit ton of white people.
there was a ship from Ireland that was headed north full of indentured servants. It crashed in Savannah.
Oh no.
Guess what our lovely founding father did?
What?
He bought everybody off the ship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, like in a good way, like go free, or you're all my people?
I think that he they ended up being dock workers.
Okay.
So pretty much like bought their freedom
Okay.
at the cost of
Okay.
what would be he bought them all for £5 each, which I did some research. That's the equivalent of $51,800 today.
For
out of
all
pocket.
of them?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
For each person?
Uh,
Or in total.
I think that's in total.
Oh, okay.
That'd be a lot for. I don't
They-
think that's how that would work.
No,
Yeah, I was
that's
like,
no.
ah.
Yeah.
like,
So
holy
51
crap.
spent almost $52,000 in today's
Wow.
money to basically free these people. The Irish ended up working. You can go to visit a place called Factor's Walk, which is right along the river. They worked at the docks for probably not a lot of money. So that was beginning of Savannah. You had people from all over the place. But then in the late 1730s, Savannah kind of started to dwindle a little bit. Everybody wanted to head north to Charleston. Enter a man by the name of William Stevens.
William Stevens.
Yeah, it's a nice.
He's a
Southern name.
goddamn
solid
American.
Stevens.
Yeah. He came over from England to settle some disputes about land and whatnot. In addition to Oglethorpe's 4 basic rules, he didn't really agree with women owning land. So you had widows who had no sons and people trying to take their husband's land because it wasn't their land, because Oglethorpe didn't necessarily believe that they had any right to it.
Because, women can't actually, we don't have the brain capacity to own land.
No, in the 1730s, we were idiots.
No, yeah.
So Stevens didn't care. He was like, whatever.
Way to go, Stevens.
You do you, bruh.
The first real feminism.
Right?
Feminist.
You can own some land if you want. Feminism.
If you really want to, I suppose you could own some land. Hashtag feminism.
Ladies, let me just say, owning land is not all it's cut out to be, because when you own land, you have to take care of it. And I will just say, from personal experience, I don't understand how I can manage to kill all of these plants that I try to grow and yet have weeds covering all of my land.
I just want a house so bad.
It's okay. I killed a succulent. You're not supposed to kill those suckers.
Whoa! How did you do that?
Well, we had 2, and one I overwatered and one I underwatered. I gave them the same amount of water. one died because it got too dry and the other one drowned.
I don't understand.
I don't know.
That actually takes talent.
Right?
I'm not going to lie. That's impressive.
I am in awe.
Two in the opposite way by giving them the same amount of care.
Were they the same kind of succulent?
No, they were different.
Oh. See, I don't know my succulents.
Neither do I clearly.
I have one. Interesting.
I have one too. Oh, wait.
You probably got it
I got
on
one
Mother's
from-
Day.
Yeah, but I gave it to my mom. But my friend at work,
Aw, that was
gave me-
nice of you.
I really wanted it. But Brandon was like, oh, I'll give one to my mom. And I had one in my hand, and I was like, okay.
Aw.
And then my mom just looked at it, and she was like, what is it?
Aw.
It's a succulent for you.
For you.
So, William Stevens didn't really care if women owned land or not. He and Oglethorpe went at each other for years, and finally Oglethorpe had enough and he bailed. July 23rd, 1743, he hopped the ship back to England and was never seen in America again.
Bye.
Oh, shoot.
Bye, Jimmy.
Bye.
Bye, Jimmy. Have fun in England. Bet they don't let women own land over there.
But the only problem is things went from bad to worse.
Oglethorpe, no, why did you leave us?
Oglethorpe's absence ushered in a time of more British control. And so he left in 1743. By 1755, the slave trade had started up. And by 1760, there was one slave for every two people, and the economy was booming.
Holy crap.
Yep.
Oglethorpe,
Oh
why
my
did you
gosh.
leave us?
By 1760, Savannah was referred to as Little London because there were so much money getting slung around that place because nobody had to pay for their indentured servants anymore because their indentured servants were now slaves.
Your debts are
Everybody
paid 'cause
just
you
spent-
don't pay for labor.
Right?
Hamilton.
Everybody was rich because they didn't have to pay anybody to do their work for them anymore.
Wait, so I wonder if, had he not have left, if that would have changed anything.
I don't think so.
Like just one person. But
I don't think so because I think that when you have an entire country behind you, I think that England eventually would have worn him down and really just kind of taken over at some point
Yeah.
anyway.
that's true.
So that brings us up to 1760, and the revolution is coming.
It's
Savannah,
a-comin'.
Savannah actually played a pretty significant role in the revolution. So we're going to talk about the Revolutionary War next week. We're going to cover Revolutionary and Civil War next week.
Woo, fun, thanks.
Yee.
So, yeah, hold
Insert
on to your hats,
applause.
ladies and gents. It's going to get ugly.
Hold on to your rotten peaches because it's going to
Right?
get ugly.
Yeah. By the time I'm done with you, Savannites may be hating Savannah too. I don't know. I don't hate
fresh
Savannah.
at the beginning, and
I
now
know.
by the time
Yeah.
we're finished, they'll be
Yeah.
rotten.
They'll be rotten and just
I-
ready to chuck.
I don't hate Savannah, I should say. Much like Casper, I try to withhold judgment.
Sounds like you didn't.
I
You opened with, "Hey, I hate
Hey,
you,"
I hate Georgia.
but I'm really open-minded, so it's cool.
I realize that I'm coming across as an asshole right now.
No, you're fine.
Just a cactus.
You're just
Yeah.
you're just a cactus ass.
No,
It's an ass cactus.
an
That's what
ass
it
Yes.
cactus. Yeah. I don't like the Georgia in my brain. I'm sure that the Georgia in reality, hashtag not all Georgians,
is.
is
Hashtag not all
not-
Georgians.
anything like the Georgia in my brain. Do I get credit at least for admitting that I realize that I'm being
Yeah.
a
I'll
jerk
admit it.
about it?
See, in my mind, Georgia is the prettiest state I've ever been to, and Savannah is sunny with salty water and a lot of seafood.
I'm
It is
openly admitting my bias. I'm laying my soul bare for people to throw pins and needles and barbs and
And send it
I
to our
mean-
email, doesn't exist. Mile 13 show.
In my
at gmail.com.
opinion, like Savannah's no worse than anywhere else in the states. Like all the states are horrible for their own way. Like the last
Yeah.
public lynching was in Indiana. So like what does the North have to anything over the South? So in my opinion, everywhere's horrible and awful and all we can do is acknowledge what happens.
Except Ohio, which is beautiful and wonderful.
Oh, wait.
Ohio. All right, I'll get off my soapbox now. Casper, what you got?
All right, ghosts. So, we didn't talk about it at the beginning of the episode, but basically, Savannah is so haunted that we can't cover it in a single episode. So we're splitting it up. It has so much history that it would take an entire episode just to talk about all the history. So we're splitting the history in half. And then me and Jackie are each going to tell like 2 ghost stories or stories about random things.
Yeah, I'll probably do more like crime, the crime realm.
Jackie is a catch-all of the podcast.
Oh, thanks.
Jackie will just cover something else interesting. We don't
Whatever
know what
the
it
heck
is.
I want.
Whatever it is.
Yep. And you got to sit here and listen to it.
You
It was
gotta
your
listen.
brainchild.
Yep.
Yeah.
My idea.
But yeah, so I am covering the most haunted building in Savannah, supposedly. So, actually, in 2003, the American Institute of Paranormal Psychology named Savannah the most haunted city in America.
Really?
Thus the reason for the 3 episodes.
That
Oh,
surprises me.
I think I remember hearing that because I remember thinking New Orleans would have.
You'd think.
See?
Or like Salem or something
I
like
would
that,
have
but
thought
no.
Gettysburg.
Oh, Gettysburg is pretty intense.
Gettysburg would have been the first one that came to my mind. That is surprising to me.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure why, because it's no, like, there's, like, you could argue that, like, a lot of different things happen, but all of your reasoning would be the same for other places. So I'm not 100% sure why it's just Savannah.
I wonder if because it's so old.
Well, I will say
Maybe. Actually, yeah, there's a point to that.
one of the headings in the history of Savannah, like one of the chapter headings was the city built on its dead.
Yes.
So,
But then again, other towns did that too.
Like New Orleans.
yeah.
Yeah. Lots of towns built over their graveyards. But anyways, so the most haunted building in Savannah is the Moon River Brewery.
Ooh.
So, yay, beer!
Wow.
Ah, that sounds. I feel like I've heard of that before.
Suddenly I'm liking Savannah more.
Suddenly you like Savannah more. So in 1820, there was the Great Fire of Savannah, which burned down over 400 structures, which was nearly 2/3 of the city.
Wow. Do you know? The Chicago fire? Like, how did they?
Yeah.
How did they? I mean, comparatively speaking, size-wise, as far as devastation, do you
Ooh.
know?
I didn't Google that.
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Because that's a lot of city.
Did you know that, like, the Chicago Fire is such a thing in, like, obviously Chicago, that, like, kids growing up have, like, songs that we sing about the Chicago Fire that are just, like, little campfire songs?
Oh, that's so morbid.
That's fun.
There's, the main one is, like, one dark night when we were all in bed, boom, 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 Miss O'Leary took a lantern to the shed, and when the cow tipped it over, this is what she said, it's gonna be a hot one in the old town tonight. Fire, fire, fire.
That's so morbid.
Children sing
I
that.
missed out on so much growing up.
Cornfields and cornfields and look, there's the cornfield.
Oh, children of the corn.
Not quite the same.
Okay, you ruined the corn song for me now. So
Yep.
that's cool.
I'm sorry. Young adult of the soybean. Better?
Yes, thank you.
'Kay.
I appreciate
You're,
that.
you're welcome. Like 2/3 of Savannah was burned to the ground, basically, and so it was all these plots of land that were just open. And so in 1820, a couple by the a Laser and Jane Early. Sorry, I had to make sure I said his name correctly. A Laser. Bought the plots and started building what was going to become the City Hotel. So they bought it in 1820 and finished construction in 1821. So it only took a year to build the whole thing.
That's pretty good.
So it was the City Hotel and Post Office. Some interesting things about it was that Savannah had this mass underground tunnel system that was used for various purposes. One of which was to hide out during yellow fever outbreaks because people thought it would be safer to be underground. It was not. It made it significantly worse.
Yes. True.
Yeah, that was not a good idea for people. But one of the entrances to these tunnels is actually in the basement of this hotel.
that's
it is now
terrifying.
currently walled off, but the like basement is actually like an entrance to this tunnel, and we'll get back to that tunnel.
Do they talk?
There's a footnote.
My story involves a tunnel.
Ooh,
Oh, they're
tunnels.
neighbors.
Do they admit that? Do they admit that it's there? Like the current people? Oh, okay, so they don't
Yeah.
try to be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
There's actually so. In order to do some of my research, I get to do some really fun things like watch other shows and podcasts cover the topics that I'm covering. And it was covered, the Moon River Brewery is pretty popular, and so it was covered on various different things. One of them was Ghost Adventures. And I actually, controversial opinion, speaking of having controversial opinions, I don't actually like Ghost Adventures. I think it's cheesy and overdramatic, and it gives a bad name to ghost hunters.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that paranormal TV shows are over dramatic?
What?
Never. Why would I ever
Surely
say that?
not.
I was shoved across the
Never.
room. Shows himself jumping to one side.
So, a certain, I can't actually say his name correctly because I'm so used to making fun of his name by calling him Zach Bagel Bites.
You took that from another place.
I know I did. But anyways, so this investigator was down in the basement, and the person who was giving him a tour was like, I'm not going to tell him where it is. I'm going to see if he can figure it out. And Zach goes over and he's like, something happened in this corner. And the guy was like, holy shit, he did it. He found the entrance to the tunnels. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure somebody just told him to go over into that corner.
It's over there.
Just like, walk over to that corner.
Over in that corner.
Yeah.
Wait, the wall is a different color and the rest of the
Wait.
wall. This
Why is there a weird draft?
There's a boy over here. How did he
Weird.
know?
How did you know? Yeah. Anyways, so normally they would not hide the fact that there is an entrance to the tunnel, but apparently they're going to do that in Ghost Adventures. But this hotel was meant to be like a very, very upscale place. So it was like very rich, very fancy, glamorous. Some notable guests throughout its history were Winfield Scott, Marquita Lafayette, and James Audubon. And James Audubon stayed for 6 months.
really?
Just a fun fact.
Was he-
Because back then you lived in hotels for a while.
Must be nice.
I know, right?
Must be nice. Sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, I was just thinking that they wouldn't have to take care of the weeds in their yard if they lived in a hotel.
You can just give me your house. It's okay.
Don't worry, you don't need to own property, woman. Just go live in a hotel.
Yeah, it's not really
I
your
mean-
property. It's Steve's property.
Actually, you know what though? What Casper just said.
Fighting
You don't need to own land, just live in a hotel. Suddenly, feminism doesn't necessarily sound like a good thing. Wait, so you're telling me I can order room service and have it brought to me and charge it to my husband's account and not have to worry about it and just everything's fine?
Just everything's fine. Don't even worry about it.
It's hard to hear the people mad at me from all this champagne in my hand.
Let them eat cake.
Just opens like door with like a red robe and a glass of wine in your hand and be like, yes.
Darling.
I'm so glad we can vote.
Bless your heart.
Oh, you live in a house? Bless your heart. And you have to mow?
Don't worry, darling. Just take these peaches. Everything will be fine.
Don't mind if I do.
Oh, man. But so this hotel was super, super fancy and had a lot of like famous people come and stay there. So it drew a lot of northern customers, which you could probably figure out would piss off a lot of the locals. And this often resorted to lots and lots of violence. So yay, fights.
I bet the Highlanders were involved, or the Scottish Lowlanders were
The
involved.
Scottish Lowlanders were definitely involved in the fights. But one of the most famous fights was actually a local town feud between two different people. So it started in 1832, and it was in between a local town undesirable named James Stark. Boo, we don't like him.
Stark?
He's a
The
dick.
King of the North!
King of the North.
Yeah.
We don't know yet. There's one episode left.
We don't know yet.
All right, sorry.
Sorry. I heard Stark.
Sorry, I got distracted by thinking
I just went
about-
there.
yeah. Anyways.
So how about them hotels?
James Stark. So how about that hotel? Gusts. So it was in between this local drunk and undesirable and the city's doctor, Dr. Minnies. Dr. Philip Minnies was actually his name. So this feud went on for a little while, but in August of 1832, it kind of really got to a heating point between these two men. And one day, James was drinking heavily in the hotel bar, and he was loudly discussing his dislike for Dr. Minnies. And many reports suggest he was actually using anti-Semitic slurs in his yeah, so just a real big
Kim,
dick.
don't
Told
say
you, not
anything.
a good guy.
Kim was leaning towards the mic. Kim, no.
Kim, thoughts?
No.
Savannah was ahead, and then you threw the anti-Semitic thing in there and back down.
Wah, wah. But it's okay, because Dr. Minnies walked into the bar and shot him point blank,
Yes!
killing him.
USA. USA.
USA.
Good man.
USA. Anyways, but I have to admit that this is not my joke, because BuzzFeed Unsolved covered this episode, and they brought up a very, very interesting point, which is you have to be a really, really big asshole for your doctor to kill you.
That's very
it's
true.
Do no harm
Yeah, that goes against the Hippocratic Oath. Is that
for
what that
your
is?
own
Yeah,
doctor to murder you.
I feel like that's one of those cases though that I can picture this playing out in my mind. Like he walks in, he hears the guy making the anti-Semitic remark, and he grabs the stethoscope off of his neck and throws it to the ground, and is now like, "I'm not a doctor anymore."
Not a doctor
Not a doctor
anymore.
today.
Not for you. I won't help the likes of you. You're beyond saving. Cocks the gun. But obviously there were many eyewitnesses to this event, and so Dr. Minnies was put on trial. He claimed that he saw James Stark reach for his gun, but several people were like, "Nah, brah, that did not happen." But it didn't matter because Dr. Minnies was acquitted. Because
Good.
no one liked James Stark.
I don't like James Stark.
And they valued having a good doctor over getting justice for this drunk man's death.
I would like to just point out again that a Jewish doctor saved Savannah once upon a time. So
Once upon a
I'll
time.
just stick it where the sun don't shine with
Yeah.
your anti-Semitic comments.
But wait, it gets better.
Yeah, of
Because
course it
he
does.
was charged, but he was charged with justifiable homicide and an affair of honor.
Oh,
That's what he was charged with.
That sounds kind of cool.
I feel like
And I'm like,
that's a duel.
An affair of
Yeah.
honor.
That's an
an affair of honor.
interesting.
But that just really says how much of an asshole you are if an entire town is like, meh, good riddance. Don't worry about
You
it.
deserved it.
Don't worry about it. You're fine. It was a justifiable homicide.
I can think of some people.
Yeah. So that is the most famous duel and violence that has ever happened at this hotel. Some other interesting facts about this hotel was in 1851, Peter Wiltberger bought the city hotel and put a live lion and lioness on display in the lobby just to draw attention.
That would do it.
Yeah, I can't see any way that could end any way
Nope.
other than well.
Other than murder.
Yeah, and we actually don't know how that ends because that's the only information I could find about that. So
Which is like one
they were
sentence.
just there. Yep.
There are lions in there. Okay, next
There were
thing.
lions there at one point. Then in 1860, a man named James Sinclair, moved from New York in search of work, but the locals pressured him to leave because he was a northerner, and they didn't like him. He refused several times, so eventually the locals stripped him, beat him within an inch of his life, and attempted to lynch him.
Told you I
He
didn't like Georgia.
survived, But interestingly, he was a white man.
Oh.
Not a good thing or a bad thing. It just wasn't about race. They
Yeah.
just didn't like the dude.
I'm telling you, the South even today does not seem to like the North. And I have something I have a story to back this up. We were coming through Georgia on our way home from Florida, and we were listening to like a local radio show. It was like a gardening radio show or something, and this lady called in and was asking the DJ, well, I wonder if you can help me with my azaleas because my cousin has some, but she lives up north, and her azaleas are just beautiful. And I have to admit, I have a little bit of Yankee envy. So,
Oh, good.
that southern hatred of the North, I'm pretty sure is alive and well.
Oh.
Probably in some areas. Probably a lot of others are progressive and aren't like that, but probably in some.
I love the way that you have such a hopeful... Casper is like my foil.
Well, because it's bad to say, like,
I know.
the Southern hates the North. That sounds like a crazy grandma, which you are not. You're a reasonable grandma.
Of course I am. I don't hate Georgia.
You sound like you're
You're
convincing
learning
yourself.
to love. You're learning to love Georgia.
I don't like judgmental people, probably because I am one.
We'll go to Georgia together sometime and we'll have fun.
If they say you should face your issues, right? Face them head
Don't
on.
worry, we can go to the Moon River Brewery.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, I did a hop off tour in Savannah, and
Yeah.
this is just a little story, but there's a statue. So Savannah's a port town, and we're driving along the ocean, and there's a statue of a woman waving like a towel in the air, and I guess her sweetheart went off to war, and every day,
Yeah, I
after
know the
he
story.
left, yeah, every day after he left, she would stand there and wave a towel, and when like a ship of soldiers came back, and he never came back. And
Because he like died out in sea, right?
I don't think she knows. See, my brain went to like, oh shoot, like he found someone and just left.
he just left her.
And she did that every day until she died.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Don't people say like she's a ghost too? Like they see her still
Maybe.
standing there?
I'm not sure. I
I don't know. I thought I heard that.
just remember seeing this statue. It was one of those like 10 a.m. old people hop on, hop off tours. It was fun, but I don't think they would have been like, and there's a ghost.
And now there's a ghost. Yeah, fair.
Old people don't like being reminded of ghosts. Makes
they're
them
gonna-
face their own mortality.
Unless they're me and weird.
Yep, they're gonna be a ghost.
And I'm
soon.
like, ooh, a ghost? Count me in.
I'm going to be dead in 3 days, and I'm loving this conversation.
Yeah.
yeah, see,
It's okay.
bright
You
side
can
of
haunt
things.
us.
Right?
This will be a very
Yeah.
short podcast.
Exactly.
You're gonna be dead. Next episode, you're dead. So
You won't have
Well,
to
now
kill
it's
me,
just me and
Georgia. I'm
Jackie,
going to... Universe is going to take care of that for you.
yep.
Universe is going to do it for you.
Please don't die. I
Anyways.
feel so bad.
I theoretically have control over that, but I'm not going to off myself, so I really don't have much control over that. Anyway, so there were lions.
Anyways, so the lions, yes. So there were rumors that I kind of lied about there being no slaves in my story because I forgot about this point. But it's unproven, so who knows? There were rumors that slaves were kept in the basements, but that remains unproven. So
Probably.
probably. But in 1864, the hotel officially closed its doors, and that was due to General Kim. I'm going to need your help on this one. Well, how do you pronounce General Sherman's first name? Like Tesks?
Spell it for me.
Tecumseh.
Tecumseh.
Yep, there we go.
Oh, yeah, that's an Ohio word.
It is.
See, I knew you would
It
know.
is, yeah. General Tecumseh Sherman.
So I'm just going to go with General Sherman.
There you go.
Only he was doing his famous Union Army march
March to the
through Georgia because he was doing his march towards the sea. Yeah, so that was a fun thing that was happening during that time. But by the time that General Sherman reached Savannah, the city was almost completely evacuated and deserted, which meant it was spared from war and actual fighting, which meant most of the buildings are still standing. Which is why we still have these really cool old haunted buildings, which is why I think it might be one of the most haunted places because a lot of the old buildings are still standing. Because it didn't really see battle. Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah!
Yeah, there was some pretty... Well, we'll talk about that next week. That's not
I mean, I could be
necessarily. No, it didn't sea battle, but it did lose a lot of men. There were a lot of men that left Savannah to go fight. So
Sure,
there were a
sure.
lot of women
That
and
makes
children
sense.
left alone, and they actually kind of wanted war, which we'll talk about next week.
Interesting.
Ooh, teaser.
So great for the architecture, bad for the people.
Yeah.
Cool. So the Union, the city hotel was saved, while General Sherman was marching through. After this, it was converted into a hospital known as the River Battery Hospital, which was a Confederate hospital, but it was also rumored that it helped soldiers from both sides. And I say help loosely because, it was a hospital during the Civil War.
They tried.
Medical prowess wasn't at the top of its game.
At least it wasn't like battlefield.
Yeah, that's true.
Here, bite down on this cork and take a swig of whiskey while I cut your leg off.
That's true.
Yeah.
It was, here, bite down on this stick and take a swig of whiskey while I cut your leg off. But you can be in a bed.
We have the moonshine upstairs. Come on.
Yeah. Just let me run down to the bar and grab the moonshine, and you're in a bed now, and you have a roof, so a little better.
Yeah.
Less infection.
Less infection, maybe. We'll see.
We'll try.
But after this, it actually stayed as a hospital and was used in Savannah's several yellow fever outbreaks, which meant lots of patients died within its walls, most of them being children.
Oh. Shoot.
Yeah.
You don't happen to
Yeah.
know like an estimate of people that died?
No. Records weren't kept very well, so.
You know what I do know, though? There is nothing creepier than a kid ghost.
No.
Holy
Oh,
crap.
don't
no.
worry. We'll get there.
Yeah, no.
Oh, that freaks me out more than anything.
We're just in the history portion. We'll get to said ghosts.
I'm sure at some point we're going to have to, if we get a Facebook page and a Twitter and an Instagram and all that, we're going to have to put the twins up.
They're
Yeah.
terrifying.
We're
They're
gonna have to talk
alive,
about my
and they
twins.
scare me.
We'll talk about the I have twin granddaughters. They're 4. Blonde hair, blue-eyed, like the whitest, white, see-through white that you can picture, and they're just spooky little girls.
But they're so
I
sweet.
mentioned you'll hear more about the twins. Don't you worry.
I mentioned that I work seasonally at a haunted house, and my haunt character is just basically a black-eyed kid. And I run around the haunt and sing and skip and giggle and have just a grand old time. Because apparently that's terrifying to people.
Yeah.
It should also be noted that I'm 5'1", 90 pounds, so I'm often mistaken as a child in haunt settings. So it was very entertaining.
I bet.
Yeah, kids are terrifying.
I agree.
This is probably the part where I should say that my home is a daycare center, and that I take care of approximately 8 children all day, every day.
Gremlins.
I eat my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
So now you guys understand why I am the way that I am, and why
Now
I'm
we get it.
bitter and angry at the world.
Because I take care of children.
Children. At least they're not sick children with yellow fever.
Yeah, at least they're all alive.
Yeah, no, I haven't had yellow fever come through yet. Rotavirus.
That's good.
Rotavirus, the
Knock on
flu, norovirus, hand, foot, and mouth. No yellow fever yet.
Lice?
No, knock on wood. In 4 years, I've never had lice. I mean,
Knock on wood hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I'll
can't
do
get
it
lice
too.
out of my hair.
Oh, I bet. All right, so, okay.
Okay, so yeah.
Whew.
So after it was a hospital, it became several various general stores, warehouses, offices for a while. And then it was completely abandoned, and it sat abandoned for 20 years until 1995.
Oh, that's so sad. And I bet,
Yeah.
you know what makes me really sad about stuff like that is that the architecture of the time when this place was built, especially if maybe not once it was a hospital, but I imagine that there was probably a lot of beautiful old wood, probably marble, really probably beautiful inside, and it's just left to rot, and that's just a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they don't make places
Yeah.
like that anymore.
Well, fear not.
Oh, good.
Because it was bought in 1995 and was renovated into becoming the Moon River Brewing Company. However, only the first 2 floors and the basement are actually in use. The 3rd and 4th floor remain unrenovated in its original state. I mean, dilapidated and old and falling apart because it was abandoned for 20 years, but in original state because the ghosts won't let them renovate.
What?
Wow.
What happens if they try to?
I will get there, which leads us to the ghosts.
I'm so excited. Okay.
I'm
So what
so
I'm gonna
afraid
do-
for like the people there because like if it's, I mean, is it safe? Like, is
the floors?
Yeah, like is the floor
They
gonna?
wouldn't let people up there if it was not safe.
No, but I mean, is the floor gonna, like the 3rd floor gonna come through the ceiling of the 2nd floor and?
I'm sure everything's to
Yeah,
code
probably.
because if you're
yeah,
opening like
you
a
have to do a health
restaurant.
inspection and stuff. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah. It's a functioning restaurant,
Okay.
like, and like lots and lots of like ghost teams and paranormal activity, like hunters go and
Mm-hmm.
So
up there all the time.
so
So,
the-
they wouldn't let people up there.
the ghosts will let people eat, just not renovate.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can eat
Gotcha.
down here. Up here, my space. Go away.
So what I'm
Seems
gonna
fair.
do is I'm actually gonna give you some just general stuff that happens everywhere, and then I'm actually gonna go floor by floor. Yeah, fun times. So just some general stuff is that staff have encountered on several occasions bottles, plural, and silverware being thrown, which is oddly specific. Because like
Yeah.
bottles, I get it, it's a bar, but like just the silverware, just like pelting you with forks constantly.
These,
Ow.
these seem like my kind of ghosts.
Yeah, just like here, take a spoon.
Want a spoon?
Just like flings it at you from
My
across the room.
There are also lots and lots of sighting of shadow people, and lots of patrons have reported being touched, pushed, and slapped.
I don't like any of
Fun
those things.
times. None of them.
No.
So up on the 4th floor, there is a lady in white who is known to be kind of a bitch. She is the reason why the 3rd and 4th floor can't be renovated.
One
and
ghost?
One ghost. Yeah.
She's a stubborn old woman.
She will steal tools and have them go missing, and they'll appear in other random places. She also will undo work that's already been done. So like you'll like actually start working, and then you'll like leave, and then come back, and the work will be done, like undone.
She is so petty.
Could you imagine the boss of those employees? Like, I swear I did this.
That being fair, like I would also, if I was an employee, I'd be like, oh, I don't know, the ghost must have not done like undo my work.
The ghost
I
did it. I don't know.
promise I did it.
That's true. I'd probably play that.
I wasn't taking an 8-hour nap.
I was definitely not napping.
There's a woman in white, I swear.
Yeah. But what she's most famous for is pushing people downstairs.
That's fun.
Super fun.
I don't like that. That's not good.
But up on the 4th floor so there's the woman in white and lots of ghost children. I told you they'd come back. They've been here, like you can hear them playing and running around. It's also thought that the kids might steal a lot of the tools and undo a lot of the work too.
So wait, the woman in white is on the same floor as the kids?
So
I
it's like
get
your
it.
daycare.
I get it.
It's like your daycare.
We are,
Yeah.
pardon the pun, but we are kindred spirits.
Now
I
you
get it.
understand
Yep.
why she's so angry.
I understand.
Yep.
The woman in white.
She's like, get the fuck away from my ghost kids.
She's my spirit animal.
That all makes sense now.
Just pushing people downstairs to keep them away from her ghost kids.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, because there's no like story about like where she came from. I wonder if she's a woman in white and she's surrounded by all these kids. I wonder if she was like a nurse or something, like
Could be.
somebody who actually took
Oh,
care of
maybe.
them.
That would make sense.
Why she's so protective.
And why she's
Yeah.
wearing white.
Yeah.
And why she's wearing white, yeah. I mean, lots of ghosts wear white.
Casper
That's
just
just a weird
solved it.
thing ghosts do.
They
There we
figured
go.
out the
But
crime.
it could be. She could be a nurse. Yeah. So moving down to the 3rd floor, in the 1980s, or sorry, not 1980s, in the 1900s when it was first being renovated, the foreman's wife came to bring him lunch one day, and she was pushed down the stairs by an unseen force, which a lot of people think was this woman.
So she's on the 3rd and 4th floor?
Yes, but
Oh.
people also wonder if it was James Stark, because that was generally where he was shot. it's very unclear where he was shot. Like, some stories say it was in the main bar, some say it's upstairs, some say it was in hallways. Like, there are various places that people think James Stark got shot, and so this is one of the areas, and so people are wondering if it was his spirit too.
Oh, that makes sense.
So it was one of the two did that. But fun fact, it's rumored that the foreman gave his resignation on the spot. Which, fair.
Yeah.
That's very fair.
I mean, yeah.
I can't say
My
I blame
wife
him.
got pushed downstairs.
I'm out.
I bet she made him.
I'm out. Just, honey, I got pushed down these stairs. You get me out of here right
I
now.
mean,
I would
that's
totally
fair.
do that. Absolutely.
I see a big enough spider, I'm saying that same thing. So I don't care. Get me the heck out of here.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I understand everybody involved in this story. I understand the woman
Yeah.
in white. I understand the foreman's wife. I get them both.
All the women in the story, just like, I get you, man.
Right,
I get it.
Right. Absolutely.
So moving down, so those are the top floors, which are mostly just the woman in white, the ghost children, and that's why like people can't do work up there, is because the work just can't be done. But then you move down to the area that's actually turned into a restaurant now. So the second floor, many people have seen glowing white apparitions, which have been, sorry, let me read my actual notes, jeez. A glowing white apparition has been seen on the restaurant's upper floors, which believed to be a hotel worker who died in the late 1800s. This is also another place where people think James Stark's ghost appears because, again, various locations of the actual shooting. And so a lot of people say they see a man up in the upper floor of the restaurant in, like, old-timey wear. So they think it might be him. Still prowling, still being an asshole.
Like he do.
Pushing people down the stairs.
The owner claimed to at one point see a little girl dressed in white running around, which my question is, why does this kid not hang out with the other kids on the fourth floor?
Maybe they don't like her.
Are there ghost cliques? Like,
She's the outcast ghost.
she's the weird ghost. We don't talk about her.
Right. Aw.
Poor little ghost girl.
Poor little ghost girl.
Maybe she's just socially awkward, like someone I knew growing up. That wasn't me.
Huh.
And had a hard time making friends.
Wasn't you at all.
Can't relate to her.
The other ghost girls wouldn't let you hang
That's
out
cool.
with them.
I just didn't
You
know how
can't
to make
sit
friends.
with
I mean, the
us.
ghost didn't know how to make friends. It wasn't me, I swear.
On Wednesday, we were white.
You're right.
Actually, every day of the week, because we're ghosts.
Actually, every day we were white. Weird, because we're ghosts, huh? Anyways, so now onto the main floor. So at one point, a woman who looked like she was from the 1800s was seen walking across a very crowded bar by several different people. And the bartender thought she was just a reenactor or an actress. And she approached the bar. And so he went to go ask her what she wanted to drink. However, when he approached her, she vanished on the spot in front of several eyewitnesses. She has also been seen at the top of the stairs leading to the second story by the manager, who asked if she needed any help. And when she didn't respond, he went up to like investigate further because the restaurant was closed at the time. And he's like, hey, get out. So he went up to investigate, and she vanished when he tried to approach her again.
Nope.
She got out.
She got out.
Nope.
Yeah,
Sorta.
sort of ish. At one point, a policeman was walking through, doing like just a check of the bar after it was closed, and there was a replica phone booth in one of the corners, and he saw a Union soldier standing in the phone booth. But fun fact, he only saw the top half of him. It was just torso up.
No. I don't like that.
The way he described it was like, I saw a button, and then another button, and then it just dissipated into nothing.
Well, at least there weren't entrails.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
Could have been worse.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite stories I was able to find was this blogger was talking about his own experiences here, and he was on a date at one point, and his date excused herself to go and use the restroom, and she was gone for about like 10 minutes, and so he kind of just assumed
Dropping a
she
deuce.
left him, yeah, or like was like having a real rough time in the bathroom, or just like straight up just ditched him and left. Only she eventually came back, and she was in tears. And he was like, well, what's wrong? And she was basically like, I can't tell you. You're going to think I'm crazy, all this stuff. And he's like, no, try me. Apparently, she had gone to the bathroom and tried to leave the stall, and it had locked her in. There was no way that she had undone the latch and everything, but she could not open the door, and she was banging and screaming, but no one could hear her over the like din of the restaurant.
Nope.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I already don't
So-
like using public restrooms.
Imagine someone took a dump right next to you. And you're stuck in the stall. Smell like poop.
Yeah.
You're
Like, no.
Voting Myrtle.
This is the worst.
I would have tried. If I don't know, some stalls go all the way to the floor, but if this one didn't, I totally would have crawled out underneath.
Just crawled out,
I don't
yeah.
care how dirty the floor is.
How could your
I would've
6 foot tall
done it.
body fit under that, though? I don't think I could fit.
I would have made it.
I'd have forced
I would have made it through.
Apparently, this woman just gave up. She just like was like, well, I guess I'm gonna stay here for the rest of the night.
Just sit down
and
on
so
the
she just
toilet
like
and
gave
cry.
up. And that's when the bathroom door opened and let her out. Is when she just was like,
Aw.
fine, I guess I'll just stay here.
That's bullying.
And they were like, okay, it's not fun anymore. We'll let you go.
What a
Like,
jerk.
so
Wow.
this woman's clearly in distress and upset, and the waitress comes by and notices that this poor woman is in distress and asks her what's wrong. And the woman kind of sheepishly retells the story. And the waitress says, oh yeah, you're not the first one to get stuck there. Ghosts like to hang around the woman's restroom for some reason.
So I feel like there needs to be a disclaimer on the door before you go in,
Hey, BT Dubs, you might get locked in here.
right?
You might be locked in here. Don't worry, it's a ghost.
Don't
Just
worry,
sit
it's
down.
definitely a ghost.
Just sit down at the toilet and wait a minute, and they'll go away.
Just give up. Don't give them any like joy out of the whole situation. They're just bullying you.
What you need to do is sit on the toilet and make really weird noises. So then the ghost that's holding the door shut feels very uncomfortable.
Out weird the ghost.
Yeah.
Just start talking to them.
Like,
Tell them your life story.
That's the, like I would just like start like divulging all of my like life traumas and everything and just be like, so when I was 8, this is what happened, and just start like oversharing to the ghost, and that
Like, I
would
want
just
to
like
die
bore
all
them.
over again.
Just damn, this is not what I want. You're no fun.
What am I doing with my
And
not
then-
life?
And then when it lets you open the door, wait, where are you going?
Wait, where are you going?
I have more.
So I'm gonna tell this story and then ask my girlfriend if I can keep this story in. But basically, my girlfriend, they love ghosts and everything, same as me. But I have a lot better experience with ghosts. They just are a lot more attracted to me, and we could never really figure out why. And so a while ago, Maddie, my girlfriend, they were like talking to this random ghost in this like church basically, and was like, why do none of the ghosts like me? And this basically like priest came to them and was like, it's because you come on too strong.
Oh, you're a little too desperate for us.
And the ghost was like, I'm gonna help you learn how to calm down. Then the ghost will talk to you. And it's worked. Like, the ghost
Aw.
talk to them now, so
What a kindly old priest.
Oh,
yeah.
here, let
Just,
me help you
I'm
out.
gonna help you learn how to calm down. You come on too strong for the ghosts.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I need to meet this guy. Maybe he can help me in
I
my
think
life.
there's somewhere in St. Louis.
I love St. Louis.
The priest.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I wonder if he helps with other things besides ghosts. Like, can you just tell me to calm down in general?
Can you just generally just
what's
tell me
with
to
you
calm
finding
down?
ghosts to listen to your problems?
Ghosts don't judge. Oh, well, I guess
That's
ghosts
free
do
therapy.
judge. Right?
No, ghost judge. Trust me, ghost judge.
We can all judge together, ghosties.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on to the basement. The funnest of all the places.
Of course.
So there are actually more ghost children down in the basement. There's just more down there. And they play with the pool table down in the basement. So you'll put balls out and you'll see small shadow figures like move the balls around and roll them across the table.
That's.
People have also seen the balls roll just by themselves with nothing around them.
Do they throw the balls, or are they at least respectful enough to keep them on the table?
I didn't hear anything about them throwing balls.
Good kids.
Good kids. Good ghost children. It's the lady in white, that nanny, who's really keeping them
Right?
in
She's
check.
like, you throw that ball, I'm gonna put you in timeout.
So back to that tunnel that I mentioned. This is where people see spirits disappear into that point of the wall. So even though it was like it's currently covered up, they see like shadow figures just like walk into that portion of the wall. So that's interesting. During a tour group, a woman who was like near this area began panicking, and she claimed that her entire right side of her body went numb and ice cold, and she could hear voices inside of her head, several voices. And the episode did not end until they got her off the property, not even away from the basement, just literally off the property.
It's a big old cup of nope.
Yeah. Big old cup of nope. However, they think this happened because a figure known as Toby is in the basement. And Toby is known as a young boy. He is a little shadowy figure. Spoiler alerts, Toby's not a little boy, guys.
Demon?
He's definitely a demon.
I don't like Toby's.
I actually have a ghost who was nicknamed Toby, who was my friend for a while, and he also was strangely characterized as a little boy.
I bet he was a demon.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
Not that one.
I've never met a
He
Toby.
was a nice one.
I've never met a Toby.
I've had some not nice ghost friends, and I've had some actually nice ghost friends. Toby was one of the nice ones. But my Toby, not this Toby. This Toby's an asshole.
Tell me more about this, Toby.
So, yeah, so he's described as a little boy. So people have actually seen a little boy figure. They also have seen him as, like, a shadow figure, also, like, young boy height. There's also a very interesting part of the episode of Ghost Adventures that I was watching where they were like, so a woman, or like, what was she? She was a, gotta read my notes. I didn't write it. Good for me. I think she was like a author or something like that. But she was in the restaurant and she had some sort of episode happen. And in the episode, in the actual episode that I was watching, they were like, now it's a really big thing that she's coming to talk to you because it was super traumatic and it's super brave that she's going to come talk to you. So she deserves your utmost respect for her to even come back down here. And I'm watching, I'm like, oh shit, what happened? Because like, ghosts can do some fucked up stuff to you. I've heard some really bad stories and experienced some bad stories of like things that can happen to you when ghosts get pissed off. So I'm like, oh no, she was just choked. That's it.
Just choked?
Yeah,
Okay, but
I choked on the gusher once, and that was pretty terrifying.
I got a fish bone stuck in my throat earlier today, and I hated it.
Oh, that would be horrible.
I mean, it was just
yeah,
a
but
little,
like people
little
are being
bone, but
thrown
it
downstairs
hurt.
and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
This woman literally just walked through a doorway and felt a pressure on her neck.
That's not the worst, but that would freak me out.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd want to come back.
I've never experienced anything, so for me that would be
Maybe I'm just numb.
Yeah, you're probably just numb to it.
Maybe I'm just numb. It just seemed very overplayed to me where I'm just like, real that's all that happened? Oh, okay. You know, some people like
For a
being
TV
choked, but hey,
Yeah.
you know.
For a TV show, I could see where if like that's your big finale.
Yeah.
But if it was like you had told me that, which I think you have before.
But
Yeah. Maybe that's why. It's because I have been choked by like ghosts and stuff, and I'm like, compared to some of the stuff they've done in other like instances, that's not that bad.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, that happened. But it was interesting because a bartender also during that experience saw a shadowy figure crouching in the corner for about like 5 minutes in the same location that like the event had happened where this woman had gotten choked. Also, a certain paranormal investigator claimed to be possessed by Toby in the basement. And yeah, so all that being said is a lot of people don't think Toby is actually a little boy. Toby is definitely a demon.
or
I can
else
understand
a
that.
really like
Or a really
He's in
violent
his terrible
jerk.
twos.
right.
Yeah,
He's a jerk little boy.
he's a little jerk.
He's a cactus.
He's a cactus. But yeah, like I said, this place was featured on many different places, including Sci-Fi's or Sci-Fi Channel, Ghost Hunters, PBC's American Most Haunted Places, CNN's Halloween segment, Southern Haunts, and BuzzFeed Unsolved, just
Wow.
to name a few that you can watch. It is located on 21 West Bay Street, if you want to actually go see it, and it is featured in Savannah's Haunted Pub Crawl, which is everything I love in one sentence.
We're doing it.
So much fun.
When we go to Savannah, that's at the top of our list.
Yes. Okay.
Just booze,
and
and
booze.
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 Booze and booze.
Can I-
And that is the story of the Moon River Brewery. Thank you.
I loved that story.
Fantastic. Sorry. that was really
Stop that, Jackie.
I have nothing prepared.
Which is probably good because we've been at it for a while.
Yeah. How do we wrap this up? Those are our stories.
For real,
Part
though.
one.
Yeah, part one. We hope you
So
enjoyed
yeah,
it.
next week. So obviously it was just me and Kim talking this week. So next week Kim's gonna give the other half of the history, and Jackie's gonna give a story, and then the week after that, me and Jackie are both gonna give a story. So
Woo, woo.
yay!
Murder.
I need to figure out what I'm gonna do for my second story.
I need to figure out what I'm doing for my first story. So,
There we go. So you got 2 to prepare for.
yeah.
So, like I said, we have an email. It's mile13show@gmail.com. I will screen all the emails so that you two don't get your feelings hurt.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
seriously, for real, especially for me, if I offended anybody, let me know as kindly as
Yeah.
possible. If I got my history wrong, let me know. I will address it on the next show, hopefully. We are not sure. I will address it at some point. We're not sure how our recording schedule is going to go. If you liked our show, please tell your friends about us.
Please.
And spread the word, because this is our first foray into podcasting and our first show, and we would like to do more than just sit in my basement and talk to you.
Yeah.
I
Ourselves.
would not like
Or
to do
yeah,
more
talk to
than that.
ourselves, because
I would like to talk to you, not us. We
Yeah.
talk to ourselves all the time.
I would say like no one's gonna listen to this except for my mom, and I was like, even she's not gonna listen to it. Like maybe
I'm
my
not telling my
girlfriend will
mom.
listen to it, but like I definitely have already like part of my research process is to tell my girlfriend everything I'm learning. Where I'm like, ooh, there's a ghost. So like Maddie already knows all the stories.
So we have 3 listeners so far.
Yep.
All of our significant others.
Yep.
yeah.
So we'd like to make that 4. If you're out
4
there,
would be nice
let us know.
because we can't count on parents.
No. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom probably won't listen.
No, I'm not. I'm not even telling the people at work the name of this podcast because they'll make
Oh, I
fun of
will.
me.
No, they won't.
Oh, they'll make fun of me, but I still will. The graphic design job, the haunted house people are gonna love the fact that I'm doing this podcast.
Steve's mom would not approve.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents
She's an
don't
angel
love
of a
ghosts.
human. Like that, I don't even know. She's ethereal and wonderful, and she would be mortified at some of this.
My mom cried when I told her I wanted to learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons.
My nephew Jay and my niece
man.
Val will probably listen. So we have
As we name off every single
5
person.
listeners.
Start listing off.
So
like,
to the
yeah,
5
I
of
could
you.
probably.
tell
I
your
should
friends.
probably mention before I state this that I am kidding. I am not actually part of a real coven, but I've referred to all of my friends as coven. So I'm gonna say that the coven will definitely listen to this.
Dude, we have a coven that's going to listen.
Coven.
You have
tell
a
your
coven.
friends.
Yeah, coven. if you're
Hashtag
out
coven
there.
life.
All right. So again, mile13@gmail.com. Also, in addition to telling us how poorly or bad or
How great we're doing.
I was getting
How
to
much
that.
you love us.
How poorly or wonderfully we are doing. If you have a city that you would like us to cover, please let us know.
Yes.
If your city has something awesome in it that you would like us to cover, please let us know. Also, if you happen to be in a band or own a restaurant or anything like that in a city that you would like us to cover, make sure to include that information as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, if you have any personal stories of any towns we've already covered, like if you are from Savannah and you're like, hey, I've been to the Moon River Brewery and I saw a ghost there, write us in. We'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. That's it.
All right.
Savannah episode 1.
Savannah
Thanks.
episode 1.
We out.
See ya.
And we out. Bye.
Bye.